When it comes to compact crossovers, Nissan was late to the party with the Rogue back in 2008. Now, despite the company's tardiness, the Rogue quickly gained a loyal group of buyers, allowing Nissan to sell over 400,000 units in America, making the Rogue the best-selling compact SUV that you can buy in the States. Now, unfortunately for Nissan, the company has been battling a little bit of an image problem in recent years with falling quality from a lot of their products, an ex-CEO that has been accused of stealing from the company, and just an overall bargain basement feel when you compare Nissan to other mainstream manufacturers. Now, because of that tarnished image, Nissan sales have fallen in recent years, and the Rogue is no longer the best-selling compact crossover in America, with that crown and title being given to Toyota with their RAV4 back in 2019. So in order to change that and of course improve their image, Nissan is introducing an all-new Rogue for 2021. And as you can see, I'm standing by this all-new version. It sports completely updated and more aggressive styling, an interior that should make a lot of Infiniti vehicles envious, and a refreshed powertrain that should allow the Rogue to remain one of the most fuel-efficient non-hybrid offerings in the segment. So the big question I want to answer, with the all-new Rogue here for 2021, has Nissan made enough changes to allow the Rogue to become the best-selling compact crossover in America again? That's what we're here to find out. Now, the second generation Rogue was the company's best-selling model, and Nissan at their peak sold over 400,000 units. I was actually a pretty big fan of the second generation model until they really started to have a lot of quality issues and just a bargain basement image that plagued them over the last few years. Now, as you can see, finally seeing the new third generation Rogue in person. Remember, this is sharing a platform, of course, with the current generation Altima. It's also based off of the Nissan X-Trail, which is sold as the Rogue in other parts of the world. And I have to admit, I liked the way the new Rogue looked in pictures. I also like the way it looks in person. Obviously, you can see the company's signature V-Motion grille here is dominating the front. You have the corporate Nissan logo, although that is not the newer logo that I showed you guys on the Armada, which surprised me. I thought Nissan would put that here on the Rogue. And then, of course, you have standard full LED headlights. These are the LED reflector style low and high beam, with an LED fog light down here. You also have an LED daytime running light because, as you can see, the new headlight modules are divorced. You have separate modules for the turn signals and the running lights and the headlights. This particular one here that I'm showing you is the SL, which means you do not have the full LED turn signals. That feature is reserved for the platinum grade model. But overall, in this scarlet ember red exterior color with the chrome trim, I think the new Rogue is certainly much more aggressive, much more masculine. And I think it really works, although it's kind of following the same trend that everyone's going with the separate modules for the headlights and the turn signals and indicator lights. So looking at the wheel design, you can see this particular one is the SL, which comes standard with 19-inch wheels. I actually like the design of the wheels. They have kind of like a gunmetal metallic finish to them with this 5-spoke design. Nissan also wrapped the Rogue in 235 width tires, which are about 10 millimeters wider than what you're going to find in most of the competitors. This does improve the Rogue's handling and steering feel, but it also may hurt the fuel economy. But I like the fact that Nissan put fatter tires on this new Rogue. Now, looking at the rest of the side profile, you can see Nissan actually kept the dimensions pretty much the same. The previous generation Rogue was already a little bit larger versus its competitors. Its wheelbase remains the same at 106.5 inches long, while its overall length is around 183 inches long. This is about 3 inches longer than something like a Toyota RAV4 or a Honda CR-V. You can see I do like the nice silver chrome accented roof rails, which are the more aerodynamic design. You also have a panoramic sunroof, which is available. It's standard on this top grade trim SL, or one notch below the top grade. And overall, the Rogue has a much more boxier shape this year. It's got a traditional crossover look, which should keep the interior very, very roomy compared to its competitors. Now, looking at the rear, you can see the Rogue styling has also been updated. You have these LED combination rear taillights with this kind of smoked out finish. The turn signals and reverse lights, however, are just an incandescent design, which is typically the norm, although cars like the Mazda CX-5 give you a full LED design. You can see Nissan's now spelling out Rogue over here. The bumper down here actually is not painted. I'm not really the biggest fan of this two-tone look. The plastic on the bumper does look a little bit cheap. There's no visible exhaust tips like you'd find on something like a Toyota RAV4. And then when you open up the cargo area, this is where the Rogue continues to shine because of its generous amount of space. You can see with the second row seats up, there is no third row available on this generation. You get around 36.8 cubic feet of space. So that's one of the best in the class. You also have very cool underfloor storage over here this actual area, this little low floor, you can actually adjust and move this down one more level. So this is called their divide and hide system, which again remains a pretty nifty feature. Although the previous generation allowed you to put these little cargo shelves up here to give you a top shelf area. You can't do that anymore with this generation. But if you want to fold down the second row seats, Nissan says you get around 75 cubic feet of space, which does make it one of the largest in the segment. So now that we've discussed the exterior of the all-new Rogue, what about the interior of this vehicle? Obviously, Nissan made a lot of changes for this new generation, and they've really been working hard to make their interiors feel a lot more upscale and also improve the technology aspect, the infotainment aspect, which was kind of a weakness of the previous generation Rogue. Now you can see getting inside this particular one, I unfortunately have the SL trim. I was hoping that Nissan would send me a Platinum model, just so I could show you guys all of the differences. The Platinum version does include upgraded quilted leather seats with a heads-up display and a couple of other nice upgrades. This one here is the SL, as you can see, and it has just a more standardized look to the leather. The leather itself actually feels more like a synthetic leather, and it also has relatively hard seats, which I was surprised to feel because Nissan typically has comfortable seats from their zero gravity NASA-inspired memory foam front seats. You can see the door panels have a relatively nice look to them. I like the stitching of the leather. I like this, trim that tries to look like a black aluminum trim. There's some alloy look trim on the door handles. I have two-person memory seats, which is nice, and I also have a 10-way power driver seat with two-way lumbar support on this particular one here. When I shut the door has a relatively solid sounding thunk, so I'm pretty pleased with the way that sounds. Now, I know a lot of you are probably wondering, what does the key fob look like? Well, sadly, Nissan has not updated the key. Remember, I showed you a newer key fob on the Infiniti QX50, which is the platform sister vehicle to this car. This is, of course, the standard Nissan key with remote start. It's a nice feeling, nice size key, but I really think Nissan could just update this key design. It's a very, very old key. The button to fire up the engine is over here by the shifter. And as you can see, the gauges do a nice sweep, and this particular one here, because it's an SL, is missing the full digital 12-inch display that you get on the Platinum grade model. That fully digital display really ups the interior of this car to make it feel even more upscale, even more premium. When you guys go for a standard SL like this one here with the two-tone, it does still look nice. I like the design of the interior. I like the floating tablet screen. This is a 9-inch touchscreen, part of the Nissan Connect infotainment system. You also have the Bose upgraded stereo system, which also sounds pretty decent. It's pretty much on par with the JBL system that I hear in the Toyota RAV4 or the Harman system in the Subaru Forester. In terms of the materials, you can see the upper part of the dash here is a soft touch injection molded plastic. You don't have a head-up display on this SL trim. You have some real stitching here on the dash, which is nice. This is kind of more of that leatherette material with some real stitching. There's a wood look trim here. This is just plastic, but it actually has like the grain of a wood. It doesn't feel that way when you touch it. There's also some piano black plastic trim, of course. The air vents are a pretty nice design. You have, buttons over there for your dual zone climate control. Volume knob is over here on the actual touchscreen display. When you look at the door panels, it is soft touch plastic here on this upper part, more stitching. The windows are one touch for the driver, but not one touch for any other window. So that's a little disappointing. I think Nissan should have made it at least one touch for both of the front windows. No power folding mirrors. I believe you get that on the Platinum trim. You also have some empty buttons here because this one here doesn't have all of the options. Again, I highly recommend looking at the Platinum model if you guys want all the bells and whistles. Now, you can see there's a new steering wheel on this vehicle, although it doesn't have the newer Nissan logo on it. I showed you guys the new Armada, which had the Nissan logo. The horn sounds pretty dinky, but the steering wheel does look nice with the flat bottom design. It does have a tilt and telescoping feature, which offers a really good amount of adjustability. You also have paddle shifters on the wheel. You have new control stalks here for your turn signal stock, your wiper control. So of course, this is a new generation vehicle, so Nissan's really showing that. This button over here controls what you can see in this little 7-inch helper screen here, which has a little home display. You can also show your trip computer information. You can show your car information stuff, GPS, audio, your safety sense system, and you can also go into a settings menu. This looks pretty nice, but again, this isn't quite as impressive looking as the new 12-inch display, which you have to buy the fully loaded Platinum model to get that display. Coming over here to the Nissan Connect head unit, you can see there's my wireless Apple CarPlay, which is very nice. You also have wireless Android Auto, which is also good. This system works pretty well. It was very quick to connect my phone. I also like how it's also wireless now. I think that's a huge improvement. If you want to go back to the Nissan system here, you can see we've seen this system before. This is part of the Nissan Connect head unit. You have all your different shortcut stuff over here, audio information, map. This car does have embedded factory GPS, which Nissan has been slowly improving over the years, and this is pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with how quick and snappy this is. So I think this is definitely a huge improvement. You can just get to CarPlay over there by just pushing the CarPlay button. When you put the vehicle into reverse, a full 360 camera is actually included when you guys go for the SV trims and up. So that's really impressive that Nissan's giving you the full 360. You have distance markers, trajectory. They've really upgraded the resolution quality here, of course, with the infotainment system. You also have moving object detection. So you have rear cross traffic alert. This will hit the brakes for you in case it senses that there's somebody behind you or you're about to run over something or someone, which is of course very nice. I'm surprised that Nissan didn't just make this a widescreen display. There's some black unused real estate here in the actual, display part, but it's still a very nice looking touchscreen. Huge upgrade over the 7-inch screen you had in the previous generation Rogue, which is nice. Down here, as I mentioned, you have heated seats, 3-level, but no cooled seats. Cooled seats are not available on this vehicle. You have a heated steering wheel, which has just an on and off switch, dual zone climate control, 2 USB ports down here. No wireless phone charger on this particular trim. I believe the Platinum model gives you that. And then you can see real stitching here on the center console, which is nice. This shifter here is new. It controls the Xtronic CVT. Push this little toggle out the side to go to reverse, kick it down to go to drive, and then push the P button to go to park. You have your parking brake over here, which is electronic, dual cup holders, and then this is your drive mode selector. It goes between a sport, standard, and eco mode, of course, which is pretty much the norm in this segment. Nice little dual opening hinged center console with a decent amount of storage in there. It's pretty deep, actually, and then you have more storage underneath here. So a good amount of storage. The Rogue's always had that on its side. And then over here, you can see the glove compartment is a pretty average size. It's damped but not lined with felt. And then above me, you can see here, no LED lighting in the cabin. I'm gonna have to check to see if the Platinum has that. The rearview mirror isn't like a frameless, a more elegant looking design, but what I do love is this massive panoramic sunroof, which is included on this trim. It definitely lets in a lot of light. The seats also look okay, but again, they don't look quite as nice as the quilted leather that you find on the fully loaded version. So overall, the interior of the new Rogue definitely feels open and airy and spacious, but if you guys want all the latest tech, go for that high trim. And then if you're looking for cooled seats, sorry, it's not available on the Rogue at any price right now. Now, hopping into the back seat of the new Rogue, this was of course one of the strengths of the previous generation model. The first thing I'm noticing, that back door opens extremely wide, which is great for people or parents who need to put a rear-facing child seat back here. And it also gives the Rogue pretty impressive amounts of space. Now, in terms of the legroom figures, Nissan says you get just under 39 inches, which is a couple inches more than what you're going to find in the current generation RAV4. This feels even roomier than even a CR-V, way more space than something like a Mazda CX-5, comparable, of course, to a Subaru Forester. I like the fact that the back seats sit a little bit higher, so you get that stadium-style seating, and you also have this really nice view from the panoramic sunroof. I wasn't expecting to find these manual rear shades on the SL trim. This is a feature that you don't typically find in this segment, so there are some nice premium touches. Other premium touches, I'm seeing 2 USB ports over here. You actually have a 3rd zone climate control, rear seat climate controls, which is very rare in this segment. Usually you have to step up a class. No heated rear seats on the SL. You can get that, of course, on the Platinum. And in terms of the materials, it is hard touch plastic on the door panel here, but it is nice and soft leather padded here, just like the front seats. You have 2 map pockets here, and then you have a nice armrest here that folds down. And Nissan does give you the ability to recline the seat ever so slightly, although I wish they'd give me a lever down here as opposed to using the lever that's on the top of the seat back. Now, underneath the hood of the all-new Rogue, Nissan is actually keeping things pretty simple, especially when you look at other competitors which offer as much as 4 different engine options. You have just one choice here in America. This is the updated version, of course, of the company's corporate 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. It makes 181 horsepower this year, which is up 11 horsepower, and 181 pound-feet of torque, which is only up about 7 pound-feet compared to the previous generation. It all goes out, of course, through a Nissan Lineartronic CVT. This is, of course, the same Jatco CVT that a lot of people like to hate on the internet, but of course Nissan has made improvements over the years. They've made the ratios a little bit better. It gets better gas mileage this year as well. This front-wheel drive model that I'm showing you gets 26 in the city, 34 on the highway. That's among the best in class for non-hybrid entries. If you guys go for all-wheel drive, it drops the fuel economy down to 25 in the city and 32 on the highway. Now, of course, with the additional horsepower, Nissan says 0 to 60 performance has improved to a little over 8 seconds, which is pretty competitive, a little bit slower than some of the turbocharged entries in the class. And if you guys are looking to tow, the Rogue will tow a maximum of 1,500 pounds properly equipped, which is again, pretty much class competitive. Now, this front wheel drive model that I'm showing you here weighs in at around 3,400 pounds. If you guys go for all-wheel drive, it's going to increase the weight by about 200 pounds. If you want all-wheel drive, it's also going to add around $1,400 extra. So as Nissan's best-selling model, an all-new version of the Rogue is obviously going to be a huge deal for the company. They did around 350,000 of these in 2019. I don't have the numbers yet for 2020, but this all-new version of the Rogue definitely looks a lot better on the outside, on the inside. Sadly, Nissan didn't really update the powertrain as much as I'd like. Yes, we have an additional 11 horsepower. It has an updated CVT, but if you're looking for a turbo engine, you're looking for an electrified hybrid, you're looking for a plug-in, Nissan doesn't offer that on the Rogue at the moment. The company says that they're open to it, but they're just going to gauge the market. They say this powertrain is sufficient for most buyers in this segment. And let me switch over the drive mode to sport setting here. We'll put our foot down. Now, Nissan CVT, this is now in its latest generation. Of course, this is still the Jatco, CVT that Nissan has been using for years, updated, of course, over the years to their, where they refine the shift quality, they refine the oil change intervals, just the durability of the transmission. Let me try it here from a stop and see what it's like. This car, remember, is front-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is a $1,400 upcharge. I wasn't expecting the wheel hop. No torque steer there, but definitely had some wheel hop, which you heard and you felt. I could feel a little bit of the shudder in the wheel. Nissan says 0 to 60 performance should be under 8 seconds for this new powertrain, which is fine. The CVT is very responsive. When I put my foot down, it just automatically adjusts the ratios and gives me, the revs that the engine needs to do to produce the 181 pound-feet of torque. This should be sufficient acceleration for most. This is actually quicker than the last RAV4 2.5 with the 8-speed auto that I tested. This feels about the same as like a Subaru Forester, the current Forester with their CVT, the Lineartronic CVT. It's pretty comparable to that. Obviously, things like a CR-V is going to be faster with the turbo engine, which I believe became standard for 2019 or 2020. The Mazda CX-5 is slower with the base 2.5, quicker obviously if you go for the turbo, but it's a very responsive powertrain, very much what people in the segment are looking for. It's just not the enthusiast choice because you've got that groany 4-cylinder, which I have to say, the 4-cylinder is still noisy, but I can tell they've made it slightly quieter this year when you're really pushing it, but it's still not my favorite noise, which is, CVTs are the best transmission for fuel economy, for performance. This is pretty adequate power, but it's not. Where's the electrified option? I think that Nissan should definitely consider doing a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid. They've got the Aria crossover, which is all electric, coming out later this year. The fact that it's mimicking gears is slowing down the 0 to 60 time of this vehicle because it's having to produce those fake shifts. My guess is if I did like a brake torque launch, it'll probably not fake shift the gears. We'll have to try that at a later date. Now, let's put the transmission back into sport setting here. Let's try out the handling of the new Rogue. The steering has definitely been markedly improved. It is significantly heavier feeling, and I also can feel what the front tires are doing. The suspension is obviously soft, wallowy. I've got the full suite of Nissan driver assistance tech. I don't believe it's called ProPilot Assist in this vehicle, although there is a button here that turns on most of it. It's not the same system that I tried in the Infiniti QX50, which automatically hit the brakes for me every time there was a car that got too close to my, my front end or whatnot. The adaptive cruise control is optional. That comes on most of the trims. If you go for an SV trim and up, you'll have the adaptive cruise as standard, you'll have the blind spot as standard, you'll have the rear cross traffic braking as standard. So that's nice. I like the visibility in here. You can see out of it very well. Nice commanding view of the road, big side mirrors, good view out of the front. The ride quality is also pretty comfortable. It's cushy. This is a very comfortable, cushy ride quality. It feels a little bit softer than the last RAV4 that I drove, which everything in this segment is pretty comfortable in terms of the ride quality, which is nice. The heated wheel on my tester also is appreciated in this 36-degree weather. Although I did find that it gets pretty hot quickly and you have to shut it off. It doesn't actually settle into a more calming heat. It's either on really hot or off, or turning it off because it's too hot. The seats in my particular tester are the zero gravity NASA inspired seats, but I have to say the leather feels pretty cheap in here. I don't find the seats to be very comfortable, so I need to try out the Platinum model to see if I like the seats in those. That has a softer diamond quilted leather material. But overall, the Rogue remains a very comfortable, competent, compact SUV that has adequate power, but I think they really missed an opportunity here by not offering an electrified option. Now, fuel economy is rated at 2633 with all-wheel drive, which is pretty competitive numbers. They're a little bit better than most of the competitors. In my week's worth of testing, the car's saying I'm getting around 26.4 mpg, which is mostly city driving. On the highway, I took this thing on a longer trip and it easily broke 30 mpg, around 32, 33 mpg. So bang on with the targets. That's kind of to be expected because of the CVT combination. Remember, this powertrain uses regular gas, but you know, I can't help but imagine that if this was a hybrid, you'd easily get closer to 40, which is like what the new Toyota RAV4 hybrid gets, and Toyota sold a little over 118,000 of those last year. So clearly people want the hybrid part. We'll try brake torquing it here. It's struggling to put the power down. So I highly recommend going for all-wheel drive in this vehicle because it's literally wheel hopping away. And I think a front-wheel drive or a two-wheel drive crossover is pointless. Unless you live in Arizona or Florida where you don't intend to take this vehicle in inclement weather or on dirt roads or whatever, just get all-wheel drive. It's worth the extra $1,400 upcharge to get all-wheel drive in your crossover. So overall, the new Rogue comes across as a very competent, easy to live with crossover with very little annoyances. I'm just not entirely sure Nissan has pushed the envelope far enough here to innovate even more. I mean, yes, the infotainment system is nice. Yes, the powertrain is average, adequate. It's got some nice features in here, although I can't get cooled seats, and the fuel economy in the real world is decent. I just can't help but, feel that they could have done more. They could have done more to really make this car stand out even more than it already, is. The previous generation was a good choice, but it was also a little bit on the bland side. And I fear that I also can sense a little bit of that blandness in this new one, at least until Nissan gives me a plug-in hybrid, a hybrid, and a turbocharged engine offering. So with Nissan selling nearly 400,000 Rogues here in America every year, it doesn't surprise me that the company played it a little bit safe with this all-new third generation model. They didn't want to go too far and make this thing alienate all of its loyal buyers because, as you guys know, compact crossovers are a hot segment here in America. So after spending the week with the all-new third generation Rogue, has Nissan improved this vehicle? Now, I actually liked the second generation model. It had a couple of weaknesses, mainly around the infotainment system and the noisy, rough, slow engine. And as you can see, after driving this all-new Rogue, Nissan has definitely improved on those aspects. It has a much better infotainment system with a larger screen and wireless CarPlay, and it also has a smoother engine with more horsepower. It doesn't allow the Rogue to be the quickest entry in the segment, but you still have a lot to like with this vehicle. Really, with the current generation Rogue, there's a lot to like with this car because it's just so darn easy to live with. Really, if you guys are an enthusiast or you're really into a lot of tech, this is where the Rogue is going to leave something to be desired because they don't offer this vehicle with a turbocharged engine. They don't offer it with a hybrid engine anymore. They don't offer it with a plug-in hybrid variety. And I think that's where the new Escape and the new RAV4, of course, have a one-up edge over the Rogue. And I really want to see Nissan continue to push the envelope because, as you guys know, this company is trying so desperately to change their image, their bargain basement image, and they have a lot of new products to come. So there's 6 new products coming in the next 24 months. The Rogue is one of those new products, and I think this is one of the most important ones. So really, I think Nissan has done a good job here, but I would like to see them continue to offer more powertrain options for the future. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2021 Nissan Rogue. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.